Hello, my name is Brenda Mendoza, and I am a K through 12 ELL specialist. I am also a fourth grade bilingual teacher. On top of that, I'm also an instructional coach for challenging learning, and I am on the board for Illinois ASCD's The Whole Child Leader, where I feel a lot of my work with social emotional learning has really come in. Today's topic is social emotional learning, and I really felt that it was important to address this because I was getting a lot of questions from parents and loved ones and family members about the social well-being of their children during this difficult time. There was an article in the Tribune that kept talking about, like, what does the Illinois Board of Education think about e-learning and what is happening currently with our social emotional learning and our e-learning, really, or remote learning. So the article really specified, it said they were asking parents to keep focusing on children's emotional safety. And that was like the number one thing that they stressed, was to focus on that emotional safety. Then they went into, make sure your kids are fed, right? And then you can then engage them in the learning. But if that social emotional safety isn't there, they're not feeling comfortable with the situation that's going on outside our home, then it's harder for them to engage in the learning. So this video is really about just how we can do that. My really wonderful friend, Krista, she's the owner of Renaissance Learning. She's a consultant, and she's really an expert at all things SEL. I'm just going to talk about a portion of what I do with our school and our students and how that trickles into even my home with my own children. So, social emotional learning is really a process where children learn the attitudes, the skills, and the knowledge necessary to understand and manage their own emotions. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think if you've listened to my videos before, if you've followed me before on Instagram or on Facebook, then you've probably heard me talk about how important it is to establish attitudes. It's called the ASK model. And so you start with, what are the attitudes students in your classroom need to be successful, to be lifelong learners? Then I would ask the question again, what do children, your own children, need? What attitudes do they need to be successful and lifelong learners? And so once you establish those, then it makes everything so much easier because you can hold kids accountable. You go back and say, hey, together we created these attitudes, and we said that respect was definitely an attitude we wanted to have in this classroom or in this home. And so it holds people accountable. This is great for adults. This is great for kids, your own children, your students. It's something that needs to be established. So what are those attitudes, right? So what are those attitudes? I mean, that's really where we want to start. So I know that in our building, in our classroom, we really wanted to stress perseverance, but overall resilience. And we wanted them to know the difference. And so resilience was that, no matter how hard things were going to get, we were going to get back up and we were going to keep going forward. And have that type of growth mindset, whereas, hey, I don't know how to do this yet, but I will eventually learn how to do it, and not put so much stress on kids perfecting things. So really, resilience was a big attitude that we pushed in our classroom and with our students. And I really am so happy that we chose resilience, because it was a word that I did have to define for children. We had to draw it and kind of figure out what is resilience? What does that look like? Class Dojo has amazing videos that help you describe what resilience is. But especially for our visual learners and our ELs, the big thing here is that had I not established that resilience was one of our biggest attitudes that we needed to show, right, in our classroom, I think it'd be harder for them right now. Right now, I feel like my students were on spring break and they are still pushing through, working hard every day, posting assignments. I mean, it's almost like the classroom is running, with me being an observer and really someone who's mentoring them through the learning process, because they're really owning their own learning. And that's what we want, right, for lifelong learners, to be able to do that. So if fourth graders can do that, I mean, it's wonderful if everyone can do that. So anyways, establishing those attitudes is extremely important for your classroom, for your building, for your district. What attitudes, skills, and knowledge do you need to be able to be successful? Moving on. So back to social emotional learning. Like I said, it's the attitude, skills, and knowledge necessary to understand and manage emotions and have empathy. So we know that before COVID-19 epidemic, we knew that there was a mental health epidemic here in the United States. We knew that 1 in 5 adults exhibit some sort of anxiety or depression or ADD. And we know that 2.6 million children have been diagnosed with depression or anxiety or ADD or ADHD. And so we know this is a fact, right? And so it was an epidemic, and what were we doing about it? So what I just want to reiterate, if parents are watching this, if teachers are watching this, how can we take this whole SEL model and put it online? Every morning I post a video for my students and I do a quick check-in. Simple, right? 1 to 5. How you feeling? 5 being the most amazing you've ever felt, and 1 is you're really struggling today, right? And so I give my own value to my day, and then I kind of talk about it and discuss it, and then they share their videos and their writing about how they're feeling for the day. Just being able to talk about it really helps kids get that focus for the day. So majority of schools have established some sort of SEL curriculum, but SEL is not really a curriculum. It's more a mindset. It's more, like I said, attitude, skills, and knowledge that we should have building wide in everything that we do. Like I said, my really great friend, Krista, she introduced me to Illinois and the fact that they use the CASTLE framework. And I thought that was amazing to have this framework to introduce to our district, to introduce to our kids. And I use it in Spanish. So it says conciencia de sí mismo, autocontrol, conciencia social, tomar decisiones responsables y relaciones positivas. What I focus a lot on in the beginning of the year, and I would think for fourth graders, probably throughout the whole year, just because I really want them to master it, is self-awareness. So we start with self-awareness, and then we go into self-management. And I feel like if they're not aware of their own big feelings, and they can't talk about it, and they can't narrow where it's happening, then it's really difficult to start managing themselves. Okay, so let's move on. So, I really thought about when did I start this whole SEL journey without even knowing it. It was really back when my 15-year-old was about 6 years old. Now he has ADD, but on top of that, he also has some anger management issues when he was a 6-year-old, and we didn't know why he was so angry. So we needed to start teaching him that it was okay to be angry, but his reactions to his anger, that's where he needed to self-manage. But we couldn't get to that until he had self-awareness. So it's really, really important that the first step you take is building that foundation of self-awareness. Now, how are they feeling? Does your child understand their feelings? Do they understand their big feelings? Do they have words for it? It's really important right now, especially during this whole COVID-19. Every morning, my kids, they wake up at different times. I have teenagers, I have little ones, and they come down at different times. But it's important to check in with them. And again, we can do the 1 to 5 scale, or just pretty much tell them, like during breakfast, what are you grateful for? Focus on the positive. And then you can talk about who's someone, in your life that makes you so happy. And then have them talking about their feelings just helps set up that day. I really try to build this foundation and make it solid for all students and my own children. And it really starts with self-awareness. We need to teach them about these big feelings and that it's okay to have them and how to identify them, right? But how you react to them, that's key. Morning check-ins are super powerful. I do that with my classroom every day. And we have like a chart that again, it's kind of like the scale, but it shows like a heart, and then it shows like, different colored heart, and then it goes all the way to like a broken heart. And so students, it helps me identify students that are struggling with their emotions every single day. And it helps me then put them into a tier process to get more support from a counselor or social worker. Morning checks are so powerful. Like I said, you can use a scale 1 to 10. You can do a check-in. You can also use a mood meter, which is one of my favorites, is helping kids identify the words. Like fourth graders, they're EL students. So we have to like go over the words and really explain what these words mean. What is sadness? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Anxious. Again, what does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it look like? We go through angry, happy, scared, worried, frustrated. I want them to own these words, because when they talk about their feelings, they're going to tell me, I'm frustrated, and this is why. And they're using the right terminology, the right big feeling word. Having dialogue with your family in the mornings or with your class is really powerful, because you take turns talking about the day, and then you can also identify those words you're feeling. Some kids don't like to talk about their words. So as long as they know they're feeling them, I can have them write it out on a mood meter or draw it out. I do also have stress maps that I use with students that identifies where it's happening, where the stress is happening. If they don't want to talk about it, they can write about it. So different ways to help. A great coping skill that I love using at school and even at home is having a little fidget box. And in there could be different things that kids can use, and you have to establish like what it's for. They're not necessarily toys, but they're something you can use to cope when you are feeling frustrated or anxious or angry. This is like a squishy, and this is another stress ball here. This is my 7-year-old's favorite, which is the calming gel. You can definitely buy your own, or not a big fan of a timeout corner. I know I used to be with my older children because I didn't know better, right? But when you know better, you do better. And so now it's more having a calming space where they can just relax and calm down. And then when they're ready, they can talk about their feelings. Got other fidgets in here. It's real easy. You could just go on Amazon and look up fidgets, and they have all sorts of amazing things. But please be very specific to your child why they're using them and how to use them. And this is a great coping skill to have. I've also taught my kiddos mindful meditations. They have amazing ones on Go Noodle. Another one of my favorites is star breathing. So you could essentially just go create the star in the air, or you can do the heart, which is sometimes easier. So you would breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And that really helps when children are experiencing anxiety. Another tool that I like to use is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things that they can see around them, 4 things they hear, right? 3 things they see. Well, I'm sorry, no, that was see, hear, feel, and going all the way down to something you taste. So it's all the 5 senses and just breaking that down, and it's distracting your brain from what you're currently feeling, that real big feeling, and letting you calm down and cope so then you can talk about it. Some of our children's triggers can just really be like difficulty handling transitions, routines, and that's why right now during this shelter in place, it's really important that children have established schedule and routines, because if not, they're going to start feeling those big feelings. Let's see if I've covered everything. Our meditations that we can do. Another great activity you can do with your family or your students is just create some words of affirmation, some power statements, some I am statements. And the one that we use in the classroom is I am strong, I am important, I am confident, I am capable, I am resilient and I am loved. And that is like one of our power chants that we created. So you could create anyone you want with I am and then state what you are. It just helps you kind of, again, cope with it. So I kind of mixed in the self-awareness with the self-management. And that's making them aware of their feelings and then learning what those feelings are, those big words, and how they can cope with them. Some great tools that you can purchase. Like I said, Amazon has an amazing plethora of fidgets and calming kits. I also recommend the Castle website. I also recommend Coping Skills Workbook. I think it's from Janine Holloran. That one's really powerful. I think that's a great resource to have in all classrooms and homes. And the other resource that I really recommend is the 5 Languages of Love for Children. And it really talks about how kids, just like adults, have 5 different love languages. And so it's really important that we know if our kids like words of affirmation, physical touch, if they're really into gifts, spending quality time with you, or if they just prefer, I believe it's connecting. That was, no, let's see. We've got, I know there's 5 for sure. I'm missing one. Those love languages are really important. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for everything. And let me know if you have any questions.